Good morning and welcome to Saturday special of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Have you ever noticed that you, like majority of the people, are addicted to psychological thrillers? These psychological thrillers and the crime thrillers, crime stories, they have become a major source of entertainment and thought to the people. So much so that New York Times bestseller list typically has a high percentage of such thrillers. Why is there a compulsive need to examine broken human behavior, which these thrillers depict? And they do depict that. As a matter of fact, even if you go to Netflix, the movie programs, Amazon, and everything, you would find that more than 80% people read, view, and enjoy crime and thriller games. And the reason is that for some of us, nothing can beat the excitement of having a good psychological thriller to look forward to reading or watching. Have you ever thought why this addiction and why this interest? Why do we have this unsatiable thirst to be acquainted with the cold-blooded murders? Mothers who kill their babies? Men who lead hypocritical, duplicitous wives? Children who are abused and grow up to be emotionless, psychological serial killers? I have observed a wariness in the people admitting to being fans of the crime genre. But then that's there. Their obsession with this genre scares them. They wonder if there's something wrong with them. As a matter of fact, it's not so. It's perfectly human to watch, read, and enjoy thrillers. The psychologists and the psychiatrists opine that, as a matter of fact, the people who enjoy these thrillers are never criminally inclined. As a matter of fact, the people who enjoy them have a higher empathy factor. Their emotional quotient is very high. So if you're afraid of admitting to be a fan of crime fiction, thriller, be sure you have a much higher emotional quotient than others have who don't do it. And if you're authentic, if you're honest about yourself, you would accept that it is so. Human beings, from time immemorial, always had a morbid fascination for crime, for doing the unthinkable. And there is a certain ingrained curiosity about violence and calamity. As they say, no news is a good news. And news is only when a man bites a dog and not when the dog bites a man. We are so used to the certain patterns of our life and human behavior that we get upset when there's a disturbance in that pattern. It is this that fires our need to understand what lies behind the broken minds and morally ambiguous human beings who think of nothing of crossing the lines, the boundaries that we have set up for ourselves. And the moment you cross that boundary, you think that you have committed a crime, and the societal laws accept that. So you are thinking, why? And when you are reading or watching crime fiction, you automatically, invariably, without fail, align yourself to one side or the other. You either relate to the victim or to the detective. If you relate to the victim and the victim becomes a felon is punished, then you say, there by the grace of God goes I. I could have been in that situation, I could have done it, but I'm saved with the grace of God, or by my strength of character, or whatever. And if you are with the authorities, with the detectives, then you say, well, I've done my job. So this association is dependent. And how you identify, either with the victim or with the avenger. I'm using the word avenger for the law and order authority. It depends on what the author chooses. It's not in your hands. How the story is narrated would impel you to either sympathize with the criminal or to hit the criminal. If the story is being told from the point of view of a criminal, where you can understand and empathize with the factors and the tragedies in the person's life that led him to the crime, you will feel sympathy or empathy, because you will feel him or her to be a victim of circumstances. And such a viewing or reading opens up new perspectives in the field of human study. And that can be really endlessly fascinating. And what happens is the thrillers engage the intellect too. They're very challenging. Authors set the ground for the crime, introduce the characters, build up the story to crescendo. Slowly and steadily it's going up and up. Then they start plotting clues, which we pick up when we move along the story. We all love to play the detective, and the story moves along. And we move along with the story. We play a guessing game, picking up the clues, and feel a sense of achievement if our deductions are proved to be right. And we say, look, I told you so, I thought so, I knew it's going to happen. That sense of gratification makes you feel proud of yourself and raises your self-esteem. And that is a positive result of this. The twists and turns of the thrillers keep your adrenaline flowing and activates a part of your brain that is normally not stimulated. Now, this is the psychological benefit. This sets off all the chemicals that make you feel euphoric. You feel as if you're in the seventh heaven when your deductions are right. And this feeling can be very addictive. It's not something which comes and goes. Once you have read it, you want to read the more and more of that, because that makes you feel gratified. That increases your self-esteem. That gives a boost to your ego and self-confidence. And that's the best thing that can happen. Why should you feel sorry about something which should be there and which you are missing? As a matter of fact, this is something to be welcomed. And that's why when I find the parents condemning their children for reading the crime stories or reading fiction, I tell the parents, are you mad? You are stunting their growth. You are harming their sense of self-esteem. You are spoiling their self-confidence. You are hurting their ego. You are making them introverts, which is not a good thing. So, the exposure to the dangerous situations, the twists and the turns in a controlled environment, give you a thrill. And it's the same thrill which you have on a roller coaster ride. Without any danger to yourself, you are very safe. There's no danger to you. But your brain is active, the adrenaline is flowing, and the excitement of a real drama is there, but in a very vicarious manner. You are a participant, either as a criminal or as societal agent. But It's all vicarious. You're not actively participating, and yet you are actively participating. So mentally you are there, physically you are not. Now, going inside the heads of the characters who are downright evil is at best morally ambiguous. But it's a thrilling adventure by itself. You discover angularities and depths to which the human character can go down. And you would never be exposed to such a situation in your real life. So you are being introduced to a new world. Your experience is being enhanced. And apart from your increasing self-esteem, your life experience gains a new dimension. You are made aware of the situation and the vagaries of the human mind, and the dark alleys can traverse in a manner that makes you through the wide expanse of human emotions. You become almost an authority on the working of the human mind. And that again boosts you. After much anxiety, fear, anger, confusion, and edge of seat excitement, you come across a shocking twist. And many times the twists are many. And then the tension is released in a feeling of relief. What Milton says, calm of mind, all passion spent. And you are left on a higher moral ground of justice well served. That's a feeling of what Aristotle would call catharsis. The catharsis, when you watch a tragedy, has been shifted from a tragic to a social justice level. And yet the feeling of the catharsis is there. Your emotions have been sublimated. The injustice has been set right. Justice has been done. And you feel vindicated as a human being. In fact, so intense are the emotions when you're watching or reading a good story that the ending leaves you emotionally very satisfied. And once you have finished a real good thing, you are absolutely emotionally vacant. You are unable to read or watch anything else for some time. It's short time, maybe a few minutes. But you are enveloped in an aura which surrounds you and out of which you come, but with a changed personality as a changed persona. So all this fascination for the crime thriller stems from the thrill of a vicarious entertainment and the intellectual rush of participating in a mystery that you feel that will help unravel and gives you deeper understanding what makes the human mind function, what makes the human mind soar, click, break. All the dimensions of the human mind are revealed to you. So if you are watching or fond of watching crime stories, reading them, and I love thrillers, I have no hesitation in doing so. As a matter of fact, one of my PhD thesis was on the fiction of Graham Greene, his thrillers. Whether it was The End of the Affair, The Quiet American, or A Burnt Out Case, whatever. But I wrote a thesis on that. And I found how much insight it gave me into the Catholic concept of sin, grace, and redemption. How much the lost childhood was unraveled to me, the psychological aspect, by reading Graham Greene. These psychological thrillers and the crime thrillers are of the same genre. There's not much difference in them. The difference is in the social setting. Because all crime thriller is basically a psychology. Now imagine when you're reading crime and Punishment of Dostoevsky, the hero's mind becomes the battlefield between the good emotions and the bad emotions. And how he's able ultimately to go and surrender to authorities and tell them that he has committed a crime makes him a real hero. Nobody could have caught him. And yet he confesses on the prompting of his mind. And that leaves you with an empathy with Dostoevsky's protagonist. And you feel, wow, it's because I was reading and my mind was suggesting that he should do it and he has done it. I'm an instrument of fate. The same was there when Sophocles wrote about Iphigenia at Aulis or Iphigenia at Tauris, or when Shakespeare wrote the four big tragedies, whether it's King Lear or Macbeth. The sense of psychology being unraveled in the crime thrillers today makes you feel a part. So in case you enjoy thrillers, there's a reason for that, and you should enjoy thrillers. It will make you much better to grasp yourself and the human mind. Thank you.